Gospel reading for today is from the second chapter of St. Luke. We are in verse 41. Now Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to custom. And when the feast ended, as they were returning, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents did not know it. But supposing him to be in the company, they went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintances. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, seeking him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. And when they saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us so? Behold, your father and I have been looking for you anxiously." And Jesus said to them, "How is it that you sought me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" And they did not understand the saying which he spoke to them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. His mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and humanity. Here ends our gospel reading for today. When I think about first-time parents, I think about how not only do the parents pray to have the perfect baby, but the parents are also praying that they will be the perfect parents. First-time parents frequently read books or articles to prepare themselves. They want to know what to expect. They want to learn what it means when the baby cries this way or when the baby acts that way. There are doctors and nurses and classes and podcasts that help parents be the best parents possible for their babies. So what would you think if one of these perfect parenting resources told you it's perfectly okay for you to travel places and just leave your child alone by himself? Just let him wander around in a big city, entering buildings, talking with other people, seeking wisdom from strangers. Would that sound like good advice to you? Mary, the mother of Jesus, thought that was some of the worst advice she'd ever heard. But Joseph, on the other hand, well, he thought maybe it wasn't such a bad idea. Today in our gospel reading, we see Mary and Joseph putting this perfect parenting advice to the test. They had gone to celebrate a big event, and then they all started walking back home. And they realized they had lost Jesus. They had to go all the way back to Jerusalem, a 3 days journey on foot, in order to try to find him. And when they did find him, he was calmly studying with the rabbis and the teachers in the temple, as if he didn't have a care in the world. His only hunger was to learn. Mary vented a little bit about this. "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." I don't know about you, but that sure sounds like my response. Kind of feeling anger and relief all at the same time. But Joseph remained silent. What's it like to parent the Son of God? How exactly does one parent God? I apologize. So back to what I was saying. How does one parent the Son of God? How does one parent God? Especially when you know he's not your child. Today's gospel reading is the end of the story for Joseph. We don't know where he went, or what he did, or what happened to him. But it's highly likely that Joseph was a great parent, and that he taught Jesus to read the Torah, the first 5 books of our Bible. Mary couldn't have done it, because women in those days weren't taught to read. So Joseph certainly would have been the one who brought Jesus to synagogue, doing all he could to help the faith of his little boy take root and grow. Now we know that it was God who inspired Jesus' ministries, the ministries of teaching, miracles, and healing. But Jesus also learned a lot through Joseph. God channeled this inspiration he had, came from God through Joseph into Jesus. It was Joseph who planted the seeds into Jesus. Seeds of what it meant to be a man of gentleness, compassion, and caring. Seeds of what it meant to stand up for what you believe and to come to the defense of the vulnerable, even if it means risking your own life. Seeds of what it meant to trust God, even when circumstances appear dire. Joseph did all those things. In the Gospel of Matthew, we read a few passages where we see Joseph demonstrating his gentleness and compassion and caring towards Mary. Joseph stood by Mary, no matter what their families and neighbors were whispering about them behind her back. Joseph made sure that Mary and Jesus were safe as they made their journey to Egypt to flee the evil Herod. Joseph risked his life to protect his baby boy as the slaughter of the innocents rampaged Bethlehem. In all these circumstances, Joseph trusted God, no matter how dire everything got. Even though the gospel writers barely mention Joseph, he had a powerful influence on his family and on Jesus. I imagine days when Jesus was working side by side with Joseph in the carpentry shop. I imagine Jesus talking to Joseph, telling him of this pull, this undeniable calling he felt to seek out John the Baptist in the wilderness, to to find his destiny beyond the small town of Nazareth. I hear Joseph encouraging Jesus to follow that calling, just as Joseph followed his calling to become a loving husband and a supportive parent. From the very beginning, God asked a lot of Joseph. Joseph needed to find an entirely new way to be a parent and raise a family. He needed to do it differently than anyone else he had ever seen, any of his family or friends ever did. All the while having to relocate from this place to that place to back again. Joseph needed to travel with his pregnant wife, carrying a child that was not his. He was forced to leave his home and go participate in a census. He needed to travel to a land that was hostile to him, a place where he could not find shelter. He got invaded with strangers during the middle of the night when his poor exhausted wife and newborn baby just wanted to rest. And he received these strange guests graciously. He never complained. He never threw a temper tantrum. He never insisted on talking to the hotel manager to get a better room. He never demanded that things go his way. All the dreams that Joseph had received from God built up his faith. This faith convinced him to parent this child, to protect this child, to teach this child, to release this child, and finally to believe in this child. Even though it was the strangest parenting technique anyone had ever heard of. This is the kind of faith that pushed through the pain, the confusion, the complications, the anguish. Joseph trusted God's plan even when normal felt much more like abnormal. Joseph trusted God's plan when it was so incredibly different and therefore oftentimes scary. Joseph was a man of faith, willing to trust God no matter how dire his circumstances looked. Joseph's faith can be our faith as well. Follow where God is calling you to go. Keep recalling the dreams you've had, the visions you've seen, the guidance you have received. Have faith, even when everything looks new and different and maybe even scary. Trust God, no matter how dire the circumstances. May it be so for you and for me. Amen. Please enjoy our